Today's episode is all about parenting and fitness. How much influence do we really have as parents over our kids' health and habits?
And why does this matter now more than ever? It's because childhood obesity is on the rise, screen time is on the rise, and sedentary lifestyles are more popular, sadly, than ever before.
Absolutely.
And whether we like to think it or not, parents are the number one influence in a child's life when it comes to these factors.
What? I thought TikTok was.
Well, TikTok is number 2.
I don't know, it could be number 1.
Who knows?
And if you're thinking, well, I'm not a parent, I'm just going to go ahead and skip this episode. Don't. I would advise you not to.
Why not?
Because A, you might have other kids that you do influence, whether you think you do or don't. You might be an aunt or uncle of somebody.
An
auntie. And I think it's just an interesting thing to discuss, period.
Agreed. Especially, and nowadays, like, come on, man, this is the future of the world, whether you
you're gonna hire these
or not.
You're gonna hire these people eventually.
You gotta live amongst them.
Yep.
Unless you're gonna be a hermit.
They're gonna take your order.
ChatGPT is taking my order.
Okay.
Welcome back to another episode of the Be Fit Brothers podcast, aka the Balding Brothers podcast. That's what they've been calling us. I don't know why.
Speak for yourself.
I don't know why they've been calling us that. That's messed up. That's rude.
I got this nice rug.
You do got a nice rug. We're here at PSN, Be Fit Miami Lakes, our favorite place to be. Come work out, drink a coffee, have some laughs, get complimented or made fun of.
Let's start with how parents actually shape their kids' fitness. And I think the first most important thing to discuss is leading by example versus just telling someone what to do.
So we know kids are like little sponges, so they'll copy what they see rather than what they're told. If they see you doing push-ups, they're more likely to mimic you doing a push-up. If they see you on the couch eating ice cream, well. On that same vein, there's been studies that show that a child's activity levels actually mirror the parent's activity levels, which I find pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because you say that and the first inclination is to say, yeah, duh, of course. But that's not, I think that a lot of people would even argue that. And I actually know a few fit parents that, for whatever reason, don't take the same approach with their kids. Like, they eat super healthy, but the kids can eat whatever they want. Or they set these limits, or they have these habits, but they still have that old school mentality of let the kid be a kid. Like, oh, let them have candy, or let them have this processed stuff that they really like. Which is kind of weird because you're not doing you don't do it for yourself. Yeah. You know the importance. You've already gone down that rabbit hole. You've educated yourself, and for whatever reason, it is obviously easier to just give your kid what they want.
But it's such a slippery slope because we know, and we've discussed it here, that childhood obesity and your eating habits, your activity habits as a kid influence the rest of your life. So you want to set them up for success. You want to get them used to eating vegetables, getting used to eating salads, eating vegetables, fruits, all that stuff, as opposed to all the processed stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah. Do we really want me to go on a rant this early in the podcast?
I think we can wait a little bit.
Because I honestly don't know what parents are thinking. I can't relate. I don't know. I really don't, because of what you said. Like, on the one hand, you want your kid to succeed. Obviously, that's what every parent wants. But then on the other hand, what you're actually setting them up for, the habits that you're setting them up to, does not correlate.
And it's so much harder. How many people do you know that didn't eat healthy as a child that grow up and all of a sudden hey, I'm gonna start eating beets? It just doesn't happen. It's so much harder. Of course, anybody can eat these hyper palatable foods, but who's gonna just choose a beet as opposed to a bag of candy when it's all you've known?
Yeah, and I think, and just to jump on in the defense of those parents for a second, I think one of the reasons why they do that is just because we all live such hectic, busy lifestyles, and at the end of the day, if you work your 9 to 5, you pick your kid up, you take them to soccer practice, you're on your way home, it's 9 p.m. The most convenient thing to do is pick up some fast food or some pizza. So I think that's really, if they were to clap back, they'll be like, well, I just don't have the time. I would love to sit there and, in the perfect world, sit there and cook a nice healthy meal with my kids and teach them that, but I'm very busy, which, okay, granted, I get that.
Yeah, and you also don't want to be there sitting, it's like you said, it's 9 p.m., fighting with your kid to eat their chicken and broccoli, and it's it is much easier, like you said, to just put something they like on the table and eat it.
Yeah, either that or microwave something, or open a bag. That's nice, a lot
TV
easier.
Dinner.
Exactly. Oof, I haven't heard of those in a
1970s.
Wow, people still do that?
1970s called. They want their TV dinners back. A lean cuisine.
Lean quiz.
My personal favorite. I remember in the 90s and 2000s, they came out with a thing called kid cuisine that had a little penguin on the outside, and it was basically those a TV tray meal for kids, which is now in retrospect terrible.
The marketing that these companies do is
diabolical. Downright diabolical.
Wow.
Is what it was.
Don't mention penguins though, because my oldest has me up to here with a damn penguin, this talking, singing penguin that we have.
I've seen it.
And she wants to freaking sleep with it. I'm trying to get her not to.
Penguins are fire.
They are, but not that particular penguin. Okay.
That one penguin in particular.
What I really want to stress here is the power of environment. a few podcasts ago, when we were talking about the RFK agenda, we were talking about how environment could either shape you to do good, positive, healthy habits, or evil, terrible habits that are not going to be conducive to good health. So as a parent, you have control over the environment, at least in your own home. You might not have so much control over like your society and your culture, but you, at least what happens in my house, I have control over. So once you understand that as a human, your environment shapes you, then you can manipulate your environment to make sure that your kid is growing up doing certain things that you want them to do.
Yeah, that's a parent. I didn't want to.
Oh my God.
You know, I'm not gonna make the joke. I refuse to make the joke about a parent or a parently. Okay. Let me be known.
I'm going to use myself as an example here a lot because I have 2 small kids. My wife is a dietitian. I'm obviously a trainer. So I'd like to think that we are creating that environment for our kids. And that's something that we're very conscious about. So obviously, I know my own anecdotes. So I'm going to be talking about that quite a bit in this podcast.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are going to look at like your example in particular and be like, well, of course you guys have it all figured out. You're a trainer and she's a dietitian. Like, how are your kids not supposed to grow up healthy? I don't have that luxury. So what would you say to those people?
Off. No, but seriously, I don't think it has anything to do with that. If anything, the only advantage that I have is that I work in a gym, so I can get my workouts in probably easier than most people, and I get that. But I mean, how many hundreds of people do we know that aren't trainers that just live a healthy lifestyle? You don't have to be a professional in the field to do these things.
I would say the advantage you have is that your wife being a dietitian and enjoying cooking.
That's the key there. Enjoying the cooking.
Make some pretty tasty, healthy meals that you probably won't get anywhere else. We grew up in a Cuban household, and our mom is an amazing cook, and I love her. I was gonna throw her under the bus too. Inch of my being, but I never tasted a vegetable that I liked. So, like Cubans, we're just not good at preparing, and all the Cubans here are gonna fight back. And I grew up in a Cuban household, and I even
no, you didn't. No, they
shut
didn't.
Up. A Cuban salad is tomatoes and lettuce.
And un aguacate ahí que te
on the patio.
Yeah, patio. Somebody brought
you because you're not growing them yourself.
No.
So don't come to me and tell me that, oh, I ate healthy. Yeah, I ate remolacha, which is a beet, right? Out of a can. And I hated it. So now as an adult, I'm struggling with adapting to these healthy things. So
that's such a good point, and it goes with something that's a little unrelated, but can also be related, which is your habits and your skill set plays a role, right? Like not knowing how to cook is a huge setback when it comes to being healthy. It just is.
Take a cooking class. If that's your biggest pitfall, try a cooking class.
Again, I think it falls under the okay. Now I'm here with these kids and I'm overwhelmed. Like I can promise you, every parent listening right now is overwhelmed.
Yeah, like
cooking class.
I don't have time to scratch my ass.
Literally. So I think that it's. Sadly, look, if you're listening and you don't have kids yet, like set yourself up for these things, because by the time we had kids, my wife and I already had our healthy habits set. We know how to work out. We work out consistently. That's like already set. We cook. We understand the importance of that. We really don't eat out much. And that's something I like, boom, that's in the bag there, where now we can cook up like some good healthy meals.
And in that same field, I know you're always a proponent, and the science shows that both parents should be eating healthy, working out, and all that even before the child's conceived, because you're going to pass on those genes to the offspring.
Yeah, I mean, now we're getting into something else, if you want to make sure you have a healthier pregnancy, it's not that whole old school, like, I'm eating for 2 and I just got to eat a lot. No, like, eat healthy. There's actual science
Work out and eat healthy,
that. And if you start before the kid's born, that's a huge advantage, because guess what? If you didn't work out before the kid,
it's so much harder.
So much harder.
And we've trained a lot of women pre-pregnancy, postpartum, all that stuff. And we know if you're not consistent before, the odds of you being consistent during are very, very slim.
When you actually had time, I promise you, once you have kids, your time just goes like,
or even when you're pregnant,
literally no time.
Some days you just don't feel good at all. Like some weeks you're just hellish. So if you didn't push through your little setbacks when you weren't pregnant, imagine now that you actually don't feel physically adequate to do it.
So what does a positive home environment actually look like? So for one, let's do one at a time. Physical activity. Encourage movement in everyday life for the kids. Like have activities and toys and certain things for them to be active when they're playing, not just sitting behind a screen and just being sedentary. One of the most important things for kids is movement. That's how they learn, not just to be physically fit and just like be able to just move well, but also with your brain health.
For sure.
There's correlation there. Like one is
cognitive ability
is directly correlated with the other. So movement is an important one. For example, back to tying it to my house, my daughter just turned 3. We got her a climbing dome. That thing is huge. You saw it, right? It's
Fire.
like, yeah, it's like 10 feet
I wish I had
big.
that.
It's super cool, and she has her
now.
scooter outside. She has things to climb and this little slide and all this kind of stuff. Now, mind you, I do have the privilege of having a backyard. I understand that not everyone has that, and you got, it is what it is. Some people have an apartment, and I got to do what I got to do inside the apartment. So,
but we've seen little like jungle gym setups in apartments too. It's like it's all about what direction you want to guide your kids. Like, sure, your house might look a little sloppy, but I think that's kind of worth the child's future and the child's well-being.
Yeah, what I would do when she was a little bit smaller, and let's say you couldn't go outside because it was raining or whatever, I would set up, like we had this mattress, I would put the mattress next to the couch, and her and I would just jump from the couch to the mattress, from the mattress to the couch. And I think she loved it. Like, it was one of her favorite things, because who doesn't want to just jump into a mattress like as a little kid? So you might have to get a little bit creative, but the rule remains. Have physical activity and make movement part of playtime.
Little games like tag, hide and seek, freeze tag, duck, duck, goose, which we brag about all the time here.
Yeah. One more thing with that, of course, as the kids get older, sports, dance, anything that you can get them into that's physically demanding.
And
there
more
you go.
importantly,
And fun.
things that they enjoy is a big one. Don't force them into that, because then you can kind of go the other direction.
We're going to talk all about that, like how to do it in a way that's like a more gentle encouragement, as opposed to you have to do this, which, let me get it out of the way now. A lot of people think that because I'm a trainer, I'm going to be the guy that's making my kid do pull-ups and push-ups from day one, going, all right, come on, give me 10 more. Let's go. You got this.
Little Hercules?
I don't think like that at all.
Little Hercules dad.
We're more of a lead by example type of people. And then, like you said in the beginning, if she sees us working out, which we do together all the time, my wife and I, they're going to see us and like, what are they doing? Oh, that looks like fun. That looks like, let me mess around and do some lunges. And she just does her own thing. And if she wants to copy us, or, hey, how does this look or whatever, then then I'll go and help her. But I don't like push her to do anything.
We see here all the time, people bring their kids, because we're a family-friendly facility and we're awesome. People bring their kids, and their kid's like, oh, I'm going to bring my kid to do homework and sit. The kid does homework for like 10 minutes. They see their mom, their dad doing push-ups. Oh, they start trying to do it. They're doing their own little funky thing. And like, that's such a big indicator of, hey, look, I'm watching you do this. And what kid isn't going to want to get up and try that? Like, it's
like we said in the very beginning of this, kids, they do what they see you do. They model. It's not about, hey, you're going to do this and that. But then what I'm doing, don't look at me, do as I say, not as I do, because
doesn't work with kids.
I'm a mess. And a lot of times when parents bring me their kid because they're already overweight, or they're starting to go down the slippery slope, the first thing I do is I ask, hey, what's your lifestyle like? Which is always catches them off guard.
Hey, the kid's here for training, not me.
Yeah,
relax,
it's like,
buddy.
What do you think is going to happen? What, you're going to make the kid a salad and you're going to eat a burger and fries? Like, you can't do that. Speaking of burger and fries, the next thing regarding environment would be, what kind of foods do you keep in the house? Like, he always makes fun of me for this, but when you go to my house and open my pantry, what do you see? Nothing that you would eat.
Trader Joe's imitation Frosted Flakes.
No way. You're making me look bad. I don't buy that crap.
You bought them once. They're nasty.
No.
It's like, oh, I have snacks. You want macadamia nuts? And I'm like,
also too high in calories.
Cashews. No, man. You want cashews? No.
Walnuts.
I'm good.
Fruits. You won't find like too much processed food at all in the house. And I'm not a monster. It's not like I don't keep things for my daughter, but like, for example, popsicles, we buy like real fruit popsicles that's just frozen fruit. Loves them. Any other type of snacks for them that is still tasty and sugary and sweet, but not like ultra hyper processed.
Fruits are super sweet.
Yeah.
Fruits are delicious.
And then, kids are kids. They're going to want the packaged stuff too. So there are healthy alternatives now. That's the good news. But anyway, the idea is, don't keep it in the house. If you don't, some parents are like, oh, my kid only likes to eat this. Like, they're not going to have the healthy dinner I made them. They want this mac and cheese and this and that. And I'm like, why do you have that in the house? Like, my kid just knows you can want whatever you want. It's not here.
It's not on the table.
She gets lollipops when she goes to the doctor. That's about it.
Wow. She gets a dum-dum.
But she still gets them.
She gets them. And she likes them.
She does. Of course she likes them. That's the other thing. But look how happy they are with it. Duh. I like them too.
Yeah, they're delicious. I'm into them.
And then the last thing I'll say about the environment thing, and this is something that I do feel qualified to talk about as a fitness professional, is the attitude that you have towards anything that's fitness, exercise, and especially diet, right? Because this can get very toxic very quick. If you're the type of person that demonizes everything, don't eat that. That's nasty. That's poison. This and that. I know a lot of people watching think like that. They're like, McDonald's is poison. Soda is poison. This and that. I think that's a little too harsh. I don't think that that's how you should be speaking to your kid. They're smarter than you think. You can actually like educate them. You can teach them that certain things you can eat, but you limit. It's like once in a blue moon, like cake, birthday cake, right? When it's somebody's birthday, you have it, but you don't have cake every day, right? It wouldn't make any sense.
You also don't want to have that kid that is like
resents you.
Not just resents you, but is like judging the other kids when they're doing it. And it's like, nobody likes that kid, man. Don't raise your kid like that.
Exactly.
Don't raise your kid like that.
And I think it's just an unhealthy thing of like, it's like in any...
It's like a fear. It's like a fear-driven, like
exactly.
response that you don't want.
And you almost like you might have somebody like rebound off of that and go the other way because like, what the hell? Why not? Like, what's so bad about this? All right, let me start eating chips. Oh, you know what? They didn't kill me.
I feel fine.
Yeah. So then you're like the ones that start having it behind your back and that kind of stuff. So I think there's a right way to talk to your kids about it, and it's about more encouraging. Like, hey, these vegetables or this steak or whatever it is that you're trying to give them, like this helps you run faster and it helps you like jump and have energy to play this game that we're gonna play later. Like it's all positive correlation with wanting them to do that behavior as opposed to demonizing the bad thing.
Look at the milk campaign, the Got Milk campaign that we've talked about in the past. Like,
what about it?
They weren't demonizing soda. They were just telling you milk builds strong bones. Milk makes you big and strong.
Here's the positive things about it.
Drink milk. So of course, I was brainwashed.
Or the Popeye spinach.
The Popeyes.
That must have been that's the best great marketing campaign for spinach.
Big spinach. Ever. It's disgusting too. Sorry, I don't like spinach. But yeah, like I said, milk, like it's ingrained in all our heads, and milk makes you big and strong.
Yup.
So like just these little things can make such a difference rather than demonizing the other things. Just prop up the positive thing.
Exactly. And then another example when it comes to like exercise and being sedentary would be like not looking at exercise as a chore, because that's another thing that kind of messes even with adults, but definitely with kids. And it's something that's fun. For kids, you got to make everything fun. So it's not like you're going to sit there and be like, all right, we're going to do this militant
10 squats.
4 sets of 10 followed by this, rest intervals. No, you make it fun for them. They have fun while doing it. You incorporate some sort of game into it. And again, you're trying to make it not as a chore. And maybe because they see you exercising, they're going to have questions and all that stuff. Oh, this is why Papa has all this energy and why he can run after you and we can play these games.
The fittest guy at the Jewish school.
Exactly. Papa can do more pull-ups than anybody at the school.
Hypothetically speaking.
Parents.
Hypothetically speaking.
But who's that? Wait till they have the what's that? What Just Like That? What was the movie?
They bring in the bodybuilder.
Like, that other
guy. You're this guy. All right. So now we're gonna actually give you guys some practical advice on how to be a positive influence in the fitness and nutrition world for your kids. I think the first important one is to make exercise like a normal part of your everyday life, whether it's going for walks or, like you said, making these little games at home. I think these things are so important in nourishing and encouraging that behavior.
Again, it goes back to your lifestyle or like the family lifestyle, the environment.
It's not something that you can be like, hey, I got home from work. All right, get out of here. Go like, not when they're little.
Yeah. All right, lock them out in the backyard and go.
Stay out there and do whatever you want.
I'm going to be inside scrolling through TikTok.
Yeah, that's unfortunately not how it works, especially when they're really young. You got to teach them and you got to watch them, hopefully.
Do it with them. You got to ride the bike with them. Yeah. Sorry. Here's the thing that I think is sad about this day and age is that, and I think this is what happens to most people, so I think they'll relate, is that I don't think anybody chooses to be sedentary, be addicted to their phone, and eat chips all day. I think what happens is, if you're not careful, because it takes a lot of like self-awareness, you're going to revert to like, oh, all of a sudden I'm addicted to my phone and my kids are eating chips and oh my God, how did I get here?
And now I have to stop this, and it's much harder to stop the avalanche than it is to prevent it.
Once you've built those habits, man, it's tough.
And I think we're all guilty of it. It happens. I know it happens to me after a challenge, something that you go kind of hard, kind of intense. Like I dropped the soda. Then I got right back onto it, but now I'm stopping it again. I know you said something.
Yeah, I sent you something.
You know what? Like, you know what, man? Like, it's just not worth it.
It happened to me recently I used to read a lot, especially before bed. That was like my nighttime routine. And first of all, it puts you right to sleep.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like if you're there reading your Kindle up, 10 minutes and you're out.
Those Playboy articles are so boring.
Oh, it's so boring. And now we got into the habit of watching TV, and part of it was because we had kids, and then you're stressed, and like the last thing you want to do is like have to focus on reading a book at the end of the night, right? So we got into the habit, and now I'm trying to get back into reading. Let me tell you, man, hard. It's very, very hard, because am I going to watch a super engaging show that I just sit there and do nothing, or am I going to actually pick this thing up and read? And the stuff that I read is nonfiction. It's not like,
some boring ass shit.
It's, I'm not going to say it's boring, but it's not like, the smut that you girls like to read.
Girls? I love reading smut. Oh
nice.
My God.
The werewolf guy that you're
I'm
trying to convert
the
to.
guy on the horse. It's always the guy on the horse that covers.
There's only like 5 avatars of like those type of novels that women like to read, and they're always the same thing. It's a like bad boy who has a little bit of potential, and
she can save him.
And is like kind of like
dangerous.
Rowdy and dangerous, definitely dangerous. But then the protagonist is trying to
fix him
and save him. So anyway,
is that you?
I digress. What the fuck are we talking about?
Anyway, 80% of adolescents are inactive.
Werewolves aside, the point being that if you're not careful, you will slip into the path of least resistance, which in this day and age, there's no shortage of companies that are trying to sell you an easier, more convenient solution. Here's this here's this snack. You just open it up and eat it. Here's this, app on your phone that's amazing, and this is
even worse. Here's a person that's gonna bring you the unhealthy food directly to your house.
Exactly. And then when it comes to kids, it's like, here's this iPad with all these amazing things that's gonna keep your kid quiet for an hour, which is unheard of for a regular kid that's not on an iPad. So again, yes, is it harder? Absolutely. Are you going to have to pay more attention to and be more involved in what your kid's doing? Absolutely. But is it worth it? I mean, I think we can all agree.
I'm not gonna do that again.
Come on, man. I think we can all agree it's worth it. So
yeah. Another big one is showing your kids that you do these things to feel good, not just for the aesthetics of it, which I think is something that we in Miami need to change big time. People in Miami are like so fixed on the aesthetics and how I look, and then I work out for my butt or my abs. And you got to show them that
a means to an end.
It's not just about that. It's an everyday, it's a lifestyle. This is why I have energy. Like I said, this is why I could chase after you, because I do these things, not, I do this so Papa could have the biggest biceps in the Jewish school.
No, I completely agree. That's such a good positive mentality to have when it comes to exercise, because it goes back to everything we talk about in this podcast, which is exercise is not a means to an end. Yes, I know most people disagree with that because they're brainwashed to thinking that, what do you mean? I thought exercise was something to do to lose the 10 pounds so I can go on the cruise.
How many times have you heard somebody say, they would say to me all the time, like, you're already skinny. Why do you work out? And I'm like, you're a moron.
Yeah, so onto nutrition. This is about making balanced choices without actually obsessing over what you're eating, what the kid is eating, whether it's healthy or not. And one of the ways that you can do that as a parent is by involving them in the process of cooking, preparing meals. Kids love that. I can tell you that my kid, my oldest, loves
I hope it's the oldest.
She has her own, right?
Not the little baby.
They don't know, yeah. She has her own little cooking set with child-friendly knives and things like that, and she loves chopping things and getting things together.
Part of my ignorance.
It's just a plastic kind
Super
of
dull.
Yeah, a very dull thing, but it still kind of gets the job done for some items.
Can they cut their little fingers?
No, and that's the whole thing.
How does that work?
Not to mention, she's cutting cucumbers and stuff. It's not a big deal.
Cucumbers.
Imagine getting a butter knife, but not that material, and then just you cut anything with enough strength.
I have nipples, Greg. Can you cut me?
But anyway, you can see how sitting there and having them help prep. One of the other things that my daughter does is make challah bread with her grandmother. Like making little things that hey, we made this. You had a role in creating this thing, and of course, it's probably gonna make them want to eat it. Sit down and eat it too.
Yeah, definitely.
But that goes back to what we were talking about earlier regarding you have to cook and you have to you got
to be there with them.
Exactly.
And you have to be present and make that decision to, hey, we have all these fresh ingredients. It comes with planning.
Absolutely.
It doesn't just land on your lap. It's not as easy as ordering Uber Eats.
Exactly, and that's the thing. It's much harder to do this when you're just ordering food. You're taking away the entire process of the creation, making the food together, which is not only is it bonding time and an activity for them to keep them busy, but also more likely to have them eat the food.
And I think it helps them build lifetime habits because I grew up cooking this, and I love my mom's whatever it may be beet salad. So I grew up with this knowledge of food and what I like, and it's healthy and it's beans, it's healthy, and I could prepare it, and that's an invaluable skill, especially nowadays that who really cooks anymore? It's
you're absolutely right, and my wife and both of her sisters, they all cook, and they all cook really well. And I think a big part of that is because their mom would always cook growing up. So it was just part of what they do. They just sit down together and cook. And how do you make this?
You enjoy it.
Here's my mom's like recipe for this or that. And I think there's, it's no coincidence that all three of them know how to cook, like to cook, and it's just part of their lives.
I think kind of the underlying theme with all this is all of this takes effort. And that's something that's pretty hard. Like, teaching your kids proper nutrition takes effort because you have to prepare the food with them. You have to kind of guide them in that path. Having your kids exercise takes effort because you have to go with them to the park. You can't just sit on your couch. Like, all these things take effort.
And it's like I said earlier, if you're not conscious of it, you're just going to slip into
comfort,
the path of least resistance. That's really, you have to think that as a human, that's how we're wired. It's like, do I want to take the difficult road or do you want to take the easy road? No, you're going to want to take the easy road. It's like when you're exercising, most people, like we call it cheating, like you're cheating by lifting your hips or by not using your
elbows back.
Your body wants to cheat. Why the hell?
Yeah, why strain myself?
Why strain myself? Why expend extra calories? And lifestyle is the same way. If you're not cautious and deliberately take the harder route, you're going to fall into the easy route, which is usually not good for you.
Yeah, it's like the cavemen weren't hunting because let's go have fun. Let's go hunt these guys.
Go burn some calories,
bro.
let's
go, bro. Let's go get the heavier rock. No, like everything was about necessity. Like you don't think they would have stayed in their cave and chilled and watched rock flicks or whatever they did back then?
Wow.
Watch
your neighbor come in and try to
pipe your wife.
Yeah. We're touching on something that's such an important thing that a lot of us fitness professionals talk about, which is in a world where you don't have to put effort into things if you don't want to, right? You don't have to move more.
You can get away with it.
You can get away with not.
You can get away with so much.
It's up to us. It's our responsibility to deliberately, make ourselves do hard things because you really can go through life cruising. Now, is that going to be good for you? No, but it's something that's, like people are literally, I was talking with my wife the other day, people are literally jumping into ice cold water deliberately. Why? Because hard things are good for us. It's counterintuitive, but that's how it is. Like it's like because I live kind of an easy, convenient life, I have to lift these heavy ass weights. I have to get up and run in the morning. I have to jump in cold water because those things are good for me. The body likes the stress.
And we have the luxury of living in we're grateful. We have the luxury of living in a place that we drive our cars with AC, to our job with AC, with all these comforts, all these conveniences. Our washing machine does our laundry. We don't have to strain ourselves in these areas. So you got to kind of, make other things a little more difficult because I'm tell you what, I'm not going to wash my hands. So instead of doing that, take those comforts. I think it's a balance of comforts and discomfort.
For sure. Yeah. We can still enjoy all the comforts that modern living, has given us. But to bring this back to kids, I think it's the same thing with kids, right? It's, of course, they want to do the easy thing. Sit with the iPad is super easy. Watch TV, much easier, effortless.
Eating chicken nuggets.
But it's teaching them, and not in a bad way, not in an authoritarian way, but in this is our lifestyle. Our lifestyle is, hey, we limit TV time. Screen time is limited to here and there, but our lifestyle involves these things that require a little more effort. Cooking, and preparing
going back
meals.
To nutrition, not even just the cooking and preparing meals. It's like, it's telling your kids, of course, like, okay, yeah, those kids are eating Oreos, but we're not the type to have Oreos every day. Like, Oreos are a treat, Oreos are a reward, or like,
exactly.
I don't want to think about it as a reward either, because you don't want to have, like we've talked about in the past, you don't want that relationship with food that, I'm rewarding myself for good behavior. Like, no, but
a dog.
Yeah, but we have it every once in a while. It's not an everyday thing.
Yeah, exactly. And the last thing on this list is related to everything we just talked about, which is how to set discipline and structure without being overly authoritarian.
Wow, that was not planned. That wasn't planned.
We're finishing each other's sandwiches. How would you do that?
Rub-a-dub-dub too.
Man in a tub. There's no other. I have nothing else.
Julian's upbringing. And like you just said, it can't be something that's overly routine. I grew up with a friend whose mom literally had a schedule for him. Like, you get home from school at 3:30. From 3:30 to 3:40, to like 4 is snack time. From 4 to 6, homework time. From 6 to 6:30, you have a 30-minute window of fun or video games, whatever you want. And he resented it. He hated it. So he would rebel against the schedule. No,
just kidding. I know.
It was Emilio.
In his defense, he needed that.
He needed some sort of structure, but it was too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like you said, it can't be authoritarian. It can't be something that's, we're at a military camp, but you have to give your kids some freedom too. But that's a tough kind of line to tough thing to balance with. So do you have any tips on how to balance that?
Yes, my biggest tip, because I can sit here and give strategy for this, strategy for that, but I just keep coming back to, you have to have your beep together as a parent, because again, it doesn't matter so much what you tell them, or if you're like this dictator, if they see you doing something different, then they're gonna see the hypocrisy, right? So how do you teach a kid to be consistent? You're consistent. They see you working out all the time, so hey, I guess working out, that's their normal. They don't know what goes on in other households for a while. So it's like, this is my normal. You work out. I guess you just work out. Like if your normal was you live in a village and you have to walk 2 miles to get fresh water.
It's not shocking to you.
That's
you're
your
not
normal.
surprised.
I just got to go get the water, whether it's hard or not. So I think all this comes down to, I'm not going to sit here and start telling you, these are the 3 things that you can do to get your kids to be consistent with exercise and to have discipline. It's like, you should have a nighttime routine. We have a nighttime routine at our household. We have rules. No phones while you're eating on the dinner table. You know, TV time is limited to whatever amount of times it's gonna be. You don't just get unlimited time. You work out constantly. You eat balanced meals. And then once you establish that, then the kids are just gonna go along with it, and they're gonna push against it for sure. Of course. But that's where you, as the authority, it's like, this is just what we do in this household.
Yeah, and there's ways to make these things enjoyable. Like we said earlier, like we can make exercise enjoyable. It doesn't have to be a task. You can make the nutrition enjoyable by cooking. All these things have their little different routes that you can take without having to be, because I'm sure people are listening to this are like, you have a strict rules and routines. They're like, oh, the kid is going to be like, it's not like that.
There's a lot of flexibility, but you still have to have boundaries.
I would say boundaries is better than saying like rules. Like, you have boundaries,
And to be completely transparent, I'm not sitting here and saying that once you set this up in the environment, the kids are just gonna follow along like perfect little children. Like my kid fights with us all the time. She wants to watch TV, of course. She wants to watch the movies and things like that. And
Moana's fire.
And of course she wants, if we happen to have, either a lollipop or something around, like she wants the thing, but it's something where every now and then you give in as a parent. I know every parent out there is going to be like, I have to give in. I have to choose my battles. But for the most part, if they're still following like an 80-20 rule, where for the most part they do the healthy thing, that's a win in my book, because kids are tough and you're busy. So you can't just sit there and like, fight. You have, you didn't eat your vegetables again and fight with them every night. You just can't do that. So.
And you don't want the kid to resent you either.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why we're not like those sticklers. Again, coming back to, McDonald's is poison. You're never going to have a piece of sugar in your life. No, we're like, all right, we're at the gym and some a-hole decided to bring donuts. You know who you are. All right, well, I guess you're having a donut, because I'm not going to have all the other kids eating donuts and you're not eating donuts.
You're the poor one at the birthday party not having cake.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
You don't want to also raise that kid that's like looking down on people like, you're a McDonald's eater. Like, come on.
Yeah. I knew a couple that did that had their kid like brainwashed into thinking like McDonald's was literally poison. And
somebody in the comments, but it is. Off.
Yeah, it's like, calm down. It's not that serious.
Yeah, if you have it once a month.
Plus, you've had your share of things too, so don't be a hypocrite.
Yeah, don't come now like, well, you grew up on freaking eating McDonald's every Wednesday because the cheeseburgers were 39 cents.
Bring that back.
Bring it back, yeah.
So for this last section, I want to talk about overcoming certain obstacles that parents might face when trying to implement these strategies. I think the number one thing, we've been talking about it all podcasts, is you're busy. Like, you're already overwhelmed and busy. How do you even begin to, it's nice to start to learn how to cook or prepare a nice meal with my kids, but I don't have the time for that.
Yeah, because we're saying like, have a job, work out, raise your kids, cook for them. Like, these are all things that take time. It's
a lot.
It's not something that, I have a 30-minute window that I can squeeze in with my kid. No, like, these are things that, and I think, like you said, having the boundaries and the rules and the guidelines goes a long way in that sense, because after a while you just kind of fall into place. Like, your day, like, you don't think like, oh my God, I gotta go work out. It's like, I work out at 5 p.m. It's just what I do. And yeah, some days are busier than others. I get that. But like you just said, 80-20 rule. If you're 80% of the time you're doing these guidelines, I think things just fall into place.
Yeah, so let's be strategic here, like some actual strategies. One of the things that I would say for parents is audit your week. Like, what am I actually spending my time on, right? What?
Sorry, I just did this and then you went,
this?
No, well, I did this and then,
So take a look at your actual week and see what you're spending your time on, because you'd be surprised. A lot of times people say I'm busy, and like we've talked about before, you're spending an hour and a half on social media per day. So if you find yourself with these pockets of time where you're you're using your time in a less efficient way. And again, we're not robots. I'm not telling you never watch Netflix, never get on your phone. That's not realistic. However, I do think that you can take, hey, do I have 3 times a week to go on a walk with my kids where they can ride their scooters or go on a bike ride in the neighborhood? And I could do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday at this time. I know we have a little window here. And it's just something that you can just start implementing. So number one is audit your week. You can't just say, I'm going to start working out with my kids 5 days a week, because you might actually not have the time for that. So what do you have the time for? Let's start there.
Yeah, and I think it's all on a per person basis. We can't just go out flatly and say, work out 4 times a week with your kids. I get it. Some people are busy than others. Some people are single parents. Shout out to you, by the way, because God, that's freaking tough.
Yeah.
So like you said, audit your week. Look at your realistically what you're able to do, but be lenient with yourself. But at the same time, set some rigidity. Like you said, you're aware that you're an hour and a half on Instagram. Drop that down to 20 minutes and have a little extra time to either cook for the kid or go out with the kid, take the kid to the park. All these things
join you for a workout or just like a fun
go outside and play a little kickball or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is use the weekends. Most people don't work on the weekend, so weekend is a good time to let's go to the park, let's go for a bike ride. Something where you're keeping the kids active, and again, you're setting up these habits. Like, this is what we do on the weekend. Like, this is what my family does. We go to the park and we run the trails, or we go on a bike ride. So again, there are little times that you can squeeze it in, but you have to be aware of that.
Yeah, and I get it's hard, man. People are tired too. Like, that's another thing. Some people want to take their weekend to like rest, but I think at the end of the day, doing these things that we've said it a bunch of times, exercising, eating properly is going to give you more energy. So it's kind of like, it seems hard at first. You're going to want to lay in bed. You're going to want to lay on the couch, but it's counterintuitive to what you're ultimately trying to do in the future.
Yeah, and my pushback to that would be, everything's hard, man. You have kids and it's not easy. And then no part of it is easy. However, what's harder, to make a little bit of an effort and raise healthy kids, or now you're dealing with a kid who is a type 2 diabetic already, or is overweight, or is already addicted to the chips and the sugar and the stuff. And now it's like, oh my God, good luck getting them off of that.
No, like we said earlier, kids are brutal. You don't think that kid is going to get picked on? Like, it's
what's
sad.
harder? Your kid getting
bullied and then that emotional strain. Like, it's tough, but it's worth it in the end.
And that's why it's always like, pick your hard,
I picked that one.
Oh. So what do you do when kids just aren't interested in physical stuff?
Ooh.
They just don't like sports.
That's a tough one, because, growing up, I was always more inclined to play video games, to be indoors, but I was also outside running with you and your friends. I'd run against you guys, race against you guys. Our parents would take us to the park. So I think it's literally about, I think everybody likes something active, and that's just about finding what it is. Whether it's your kid can, because a lot of people are like, I'm going to make my kid play soccer. Okay, what if your kid hates soccer, brainiac? You got to have them try different things. And like we said earlier, don't force it. Don't make them like, you're going to be a football player, baby Gronk, because they are going to resent it. They're probably not going to like it by the time they're 13. So find an activity that they enjoy. Almost everybody enjoys something, whether it's, some people like strength training, some people like tennis, soccer, a little bit of everything. Just running, hide and seek. Like, there's
martial arts.
I do believe that there's something for everyone.
I completely agree, and that is my biggest strategy and piece of advice, is exposing them to options so that they have the choice to say, okay, I've done these 4 or 5 things. I think I kind of like this
swimming.
one. Yeah, I'm going to stick with this one. And guess what? Your kid's probably not going to like it in 2 years. And now you put them in something else. But it's the fact of, again, you as the parent teaching that not doing something is not an option.
Yeah.
So here are these things that I'm exposing you to. What can we do? And here's why. Here are all the important things about team sports. Oh, didn't you love like the camaraderie, and you made so many good friends there, and this and that. Again, it's all about positive, and these are the benefits of doing something like this, as opposed to, you have to play soccer because I want you to play soccer. I think you'd be really good at it, and I like
watching soccer.
Exactly.
No, and I think the well-rounded kid grows up to be a well-rounded adult. You kind of grow up to be a jack of all trades, whether it's athletically, is that a word?
Yeah.
Athletically or intellectually. I think it helps tremendously. It helps, because
you don't even have to say I think. That's a fact.
Because let's be honest, all the kids that you see we would like the swim, they would run, they would play soccer. Those guys grow up to be, or girls grow up to be athletes, or they like working out. They just enjoy these things, and these things are inherently good for you.
I think the stereotype that jocks are dumb and,
that's a thing of the past.
The nerd is like not physically active, I think that's BS. And if you look at Ivy League schools, every kid there did sports, something that was physically active. And again, it physiologically helps you with all the cognitive stuff.
And it's something that we tell like the young kids here that go to college and stuff. It's like when you're burned out, you're stressed. You think stressing over your book for another hour is going to help you, or going out for a jog or going out for a workout, that helps clear your mind. That helps you with your energy.
Oxygen
it helps with
your brain.
the oxygen to the brain, your cognitive recall, like all these things. So,
making you better all around.
Give them the advantage. You don't want to give your kids that advantage of like, also, by the way, if your kid can swim, run, do all these things well, they're probably going to be little ballers in elementary, middle, high school.
They're going to be popular, more popular for sure.
You want that for your kid, I would think.
Absolutely. And the last thing here is probably the one that most parents are going to be like, finally, you're talking about this. This is the struggle. How do you make a kid who refuses to eat healthy food and just is a picky eater? How do you deal with that as a parent?
Don't tell me. No, do not ask me.
Do not ask me.
Do not
I'm going to
ask
answer my own question.
I was the picky kid.
Okay, so I definitely have thoughts on this. And let me just start off by saying it is not easy. Kids, and the thing about kids from what I hear from so many parents is that, oh, my kid used to eat everything. I did baby-led weaning, and I gave him all these vegetables and all these fruits, and we're doing great.
Baby-led weaning?
Yeah, baby-led weaning is like this.
Oh, baby-led, like you let the baby.
Yeah.
I thought like lead was involved, like lead poisoning. I was like, what the fuck?
So we're doing it with Ellie right now.
Oh, baby-led.
She's eating avocados already.
She chose avocados?
She chose it now. You expose them to all kinds of, not even toddler, I guess infant friendly foods. But anyway, what I mean is the kid ate all kinds of stuff, and then they go through something as a toddler where they might become very picky, and they're like, that stuff I used to eat before, no more. Now I only eat this. Every parent's gonna be like, yes, my kid only eats fruits, or my kid only eats this. Like, they love all the carbs, but not protein. My kid weirdly likes protein, but she doesn't really like potatoes and stuff like that, like carbs. It's very strange.
She loves chicken hearts.
Chicken hearts, but again, that's because she sees me eating.
Name another kid that eats chicken hearts.
Yeah,
like that.
She also ate, we'll see it in a future episode of Kino's Quest. She ate pork tongue the other day. We grilled some up. She ate his face. Oh, she didn't know what she was eating, obviously.
No, of course.
I can't wait.
The tongue of the pork.
I can't wait till the day where she realizes the chicken she's eating is the chicken the bird that she actually sees as well.
Blown.
Like, I think they don't.
Might become vegetarian out there.
God, I hope not. Anyway, so here are the strategies. Number one, we said it earlier. Keep nutritious foods in the house. Just stock up your house with a variety of nutritious food. Kids love fruits. That's one thing that most kids love, and it's sweet. So that's a kind of like a little hack there. Your fruit budget is gonna have to go up exponentially as a parent. But again, try not keeping too many processed foods and just having the options there for, like, if the kid wants this today, okay, I'll take that. Maybe they want some nuts, or they want, some fruit or some whatever that might be. So that's one thing is keeping it in the house. The other thing, we talked about it earlier as well, is not labeling foods as like good, bad. Don't be so binary about it. It's like, these are the things that we eat more of. These are the things that we limit, right? So that's just more of like a teaching them the psychology of it.
Yeah.
The other thing is, the most important thing is, they're going to model you, so you better be eating healthy. This is what we're eating today as a family. We made this side salad with this nice lean protein with whatever this piece of carb is, healthy carb. It's on your plate. You have 3 options. Yeah. Maybe this is what toddlers will do. They'll eat the protein and the carb, and they won't touch the veggies. Or if it is a veggie that they like, or if it's, let's say, tomatoes or something that kids tend to like more, they'll eat the tomatoes, but then not the mushrooms. And then today I didn't feel like eating the chicken. That's okay. You have to be super flexible with toddlers.
Yeah, you can't be like, oh, you didn't finish the broccoli.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, 80-20 rule. But I think that if this is what they're presented and this is what this household eats, I think that
the whole table's eating that.
Number one, they're gonna have no choice. Yeah. I have no choice. If I don't eat this, I'm gonna be hungry. And picking your battles, sometimes they are gonna fight and sometimes they are gonna want something else. But it's like, this is what we made today. From my experience, as long as you do that, as long as you're okay with, they're not gonna eat some of it, but they ate the rest of it, which is fine. I've never had to cook my kid a completely different meal. I don't think that she even knows that that's an option.
Yeah, and let's keep it that way.
This is what we cook. And again, I only have little kids, so I don't know what it's like to have a 7, 10, 11-year-old. I would imagine that you're more set in your ways by then, but it starts with the foundation of a toddler.
You also only have one, so I'm sure some people are gonna be like, oh, but you're lucky that yours enjoys it. Mine doesn't. So of course that's a like a kind of gray area.
Yeah, and it's an N of one.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I don't have any more experience in that. But,
like if
but
you-
I know multiple parents that feed their kids healthy food and they establish it from
end
the
up-
beginning.
yeah.
They never have a problem with like, my kid only likes chicken nuggets and mac and cheese because I never had chicken nuggets and mac and
Yeah.
cheese at the house. So, and the last piece of advice on this is be patient. I've read research that shows that it takes a lot of exposure to a new food. Let's say you're trying to introduce something new to the kid. You might put it on their plate 10 times and they're not gonna touch it. And then on the 11th, they're gonna maybe try it.
Take a nibble.
Or they'll try a different version of it that you made. Like for example, my wife makes a hack, and to be honest, for me too, not just for the kid, is we don't love broccoli, duh. So she chops it up really, really tiny and she makes broccoli rice. Now it's just like rice that's a little bit green.
Sprinkled with some, yeah.
It's actually really good. You can't really taste the broccoli. So Maya and I eat it. So you have to make it a little bit creative and find ways that they might like that food. But again, just be patient. All right, so to close this, I think that the number one thing that we said today that is a take home is leading by example.
100%.
That kids just mirror what they see.
Little
So
sponges of
you
of
have to
information.
be the role model. There's no other way around that.
Yeah, you got to watch your actions. You got to watch how you talk about these things. Don't demonize foods. All of these things come from them mirroring you.
Yeah, and I think that let's not be too hard on ourselves because we are on a journey too. Like we're not perfect, far from it. And I'm sure everyone listening, it's like, I'm still learning all these things.
Yeah.
Like maybe I'm really good with nutrition, but like, man, my screen time habits suck or my bedtime habits suck. That's okay. You're not gonna be perfect, but if you as an adult are striving to be better and to improve, to be healthier, the kids are gonna see that. They're gonna mirror that. They're gonna be curious about that, and they're gonna realize that this is what we do at my house.
And I love that all the kids that come here notice that their parents exercise. I don't know if you've noticed
It's
that.
amazing.
They either mimic them or they comment on it, and they're like, "Oh, mom, your muscles are like, yo, your stomach is hard." Like these little things.
They know
You guys-
that mommy goes to the gym 4 times a week.
You guys don't like. You might not think kids are aware of all these things, but they definitely are. And like you said, they pick it up. They'll imitate it. They'll talk to their friends about it. My mom goes to the gym. It's not like all of these things play a big role in their upbringing.
For sure. So yeah, I hope we gave you some strategies and tips. I hope this was an engaging conversation. I'm definitely very passionate about this subject. And if we missed anything, please write it down in the comments. Or if you have any, I'm sure people have.
You're gonna have some questions or
their
concerns.
opinions,
Yeah.
and, or maybe an anecdote of my kid. This and that. We're definitely open to engaging in the comments. So let's keep a conversation going.
I was gonna say keep it civil, but we don't care. Don't keep it civil.
Nah, do whatever you want.
Go at each other's throats for all we
Yeah,
care.
Exactly.
Guys, that was another episode of the Beef It Brothers podcast. I'm gonna do the echo every time. Here's a little challenge for you guys if you're still listening. Try to find where this episode was split in two.